All right, so a couple weeks ago, we talked about what the Tennessee Titans did with their draft class. For those that follow me, they know that I do my own separate draft, different from the Titans. I go live when they're selecting, and I pick who I would pick. I've been doing it for probably 4 years now, along with an off-season report that I do or a game plan that I would do, which includes free agents that I've been doing for the past 3 years. The first year I didn't do the draft class portion to it. And then the second year that I actually included the draft class, there were some tweaks that I shouldn't have done, but neither here nor there. We're back with another episode. I said that I was going to fork out more content during the summer. So this is it, sharing what I would have done as the Tennessee Titans general manager, why you should listen to me, why my opinion is valuable. Throughout the past decade, I've been an avid draft analyst, watching 500 to 1,000 prospects a year, including free agency. And I've been, one of the more accurate analysts out there. And with that being said, that provides the backing to what and why you should be listening right now. Because, honestly, you look at what the Tennessee Titans did last year, right? And this is obviously a lane that it makes you compare, but I'm not really just trying to say point fingers and try to compare with the front office. It is what it is. But last year, you look at the past two drafts, for example, I take players like Antonio Gibson, they took Darrington Evans. I took Elijah Moore in the first. They took Caleb Farley. These instances over and over again when we actually share a prospect that we like over the past couple of years. Elijah Molden. Elijah Molden was their best rookie last year, and that's who we shared as far as who I would have selected and who they would have selected. This year we share two guys, which is Treylon Burks and Malik Willis, which I'll get into later. So this is just a process to where I let people know that from home that scouting is a process to where you should respect the grind. You should respect the people in these positions, but it's not as if that people that are in the building are untouchable or unfallible or perfect, because they go through a process just like everybody else, just like the Twitter scout or the Twitter database guy with all the prospects. There's people out there that do a lot of work and a lot of homework. What we on the outside looking in we don't have medicals. We don't have access to one-on-one interviews all the time. And that's kind of where it separates. Other than that, the time we can put in the same amount of time. Tape may be up in the air, but it probably is more consistent than you think. And we can come to these conclusions very similar. The only difference is we're not there. Lots of respect to what they do on the road, lots of respect to everything else. But at the end of the day, it's a lot closer than you think. And, that's my spiel on, kind of what not only myself, but others like me, what we bring to the table with hard work and attention to detail and, accuracy. That's something that I value. I'm not one of those guys that's going to say something and just say it for clicks and do this for like a fun hobby. I really put a lot of pressure on myself to perform every draft season. So with that being said, and without further ado, we'll get to the first pick and how it kind of played out. So the Tennessee Titans obviously traded A.J. Brown. And that took me by surprise because I'm not there. So when they popped up at pick 18, 8 picks before I thought they were going to pick at 26, which they did not have to give up in the A.J. Brown trade because they still had the 26th pick. Obviously, they're in a position. They just traded away a big, strong, physical wide receiver. And the remaining big, strong, physical wide receiver was right there. Had the Tennessee Titans not traded away A.J. Brown, there's a good chance that the Eagles take Treylon Burks. So they're very similar. Treylon Burks pro comparison was AJ Brown for me. Just watching the tape, I mean, it was just like AJ Brown in red. Now there are subtle differences between the two players that I've already talked about before, but I'll briefly describe. The differences to me personally is between the ears, and there's certain physical differences as well. So between the ears, I look at AJ Brown as a more of a uh, physical, domineering, has some diva to him, but more of a confident player. Um, I'm not gonna go as far as say he's a harder worker, but I do think that he has a bigger chip on the shoulder. I do think he has a little bit more edge to them, and a lot of people don't look at that, when they watch tape. But another thing that separates the 1% from the 99%, they watch players, watch tape. They don't do background checks. They don't watch the interviews of the players. They have no emotional IQ towards who the player is. They don't ask questions about this player's work ethic. They don't know how to project, injuries with body types, which I'll get to. But I just think AJ Brown is more of the quote unquote dog, as people like to say. And then physically, I think AJ Brown is more, cut, more rock solid. I think he's faster, from flat footed 0 to 60. I think he's faster than Treylon Burks. I think he's more explosive. I think he's a better route runner, coming out, than Treylon. And then from a body perspective and how they're built, just solid specimen. Just as far as the aesthetic of what a wide receiver is supposed to look like, it's hard to beat what AJ Brown looks like. And then when you look at Treylon Burks, most people would look at the numbers of 6'2", 225, and they'd be like, oh, that's a big receiver. But you actually look at the cut in the build. Treylon Burks is, he's not, I wouldn't call him flabby, but he's not like chiseled. And then if you look at his lowers, you talk about a guy who has a long thigh bone and thin lowers, like thin calf muscles and those type of things. Through my studies, and this is how deep I go, through my studies, those type of players have more lower body injuries, because it's almost common knowledge to me, because that's a lot of weight on a thin lower frame from the knee to the ankle. So how do players that are built like that usually fix it? They keep their weight in control. They understand that this is a weakness, and they strengthen those areas. So it's something that his trainers are going to have to do, that he's going to have to always be mindful of throughout his career. Now, I know it's long. I know people are going to be like, God, this guy's just talking, but this is the passion. This is what separates champions, in my opinion, and teams and evaluators who miss a lot of players. It's in the details. The teams who are number one seeds but go home in the first round, this is the difference that they're missing. So with that being said, my thought process was, I felt like I was almost forced or pushed to kind of take Treylon Burks. Like I had other guys. I have a video on Twitter that's showing me, kind of go through the process, and that's why I go live, so I can have that accountability for you guys to see. And then this video, you saw my mind churning, thinking about other players like Tyler Linderbaum, and then other guys like Lewis Seen, best player available at that point. Because I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sold on the player of Treylon Burks to replace AJ Brown to that capacity. I think he's about a couple of years out from getting that polished, which AJ Brown isn't even polished. So that just goes to show, I think what you can do with Treylon, you can get him around the line of scrimmage. You can hand the ball off to him. You can give him jet sweeps, slants, go routes, keeping it simple. In our offense, or in the Tennessee Titans offense, they love to run these play action dig concepts. Do I think Treylon can run it? Yeah. Do I think he can do and kind of supplement? Sure. But we're looking at this long term. He's a first round pick. He's going to have the fifth year option. Will he make it to the fifth year option? Will we even exercise it? That's where I'm kind of at with it. And I'm coming at this at a different angle, because on the Tennessee Titans one, I already told you the good, the bad, the ugly. You guys can go and check that out. It's on this page. It's on this account. You can go see what I said for the Tennessee Titans. But for me, I wanted to go deeper into my thought process, other options that for me personally was there. Getting your future center in Linderbaum, getting a dynamic safety that most people would be like, oh, we already have two dynamic safeties. But obviously, one is getting older, and injuries are a real thing in this league. You talk about Devin Lloyd as well, top linebacker there. So, linebacker is a need regardless of what the fan base thinks. So, with that being said, man, I really like. I don't want to be a negative Nancy about the player. Like I said, I think that he can help. I think he can supplement something that we lost. It's going to come down to his work ethic and really just take in. Don't be the type of player that's happy to be there, right? I'm just happy to be here. Blah blah blah. Be the type of player that arrives grateful. You're humble about your situation, but once you get your feet under you, the roots of what you got to do in your community and on the team and finding your role, and then just take it like literally just like take over, right? But if you stay in that mindset of I'm happy to be here, you're just going to be another highly drafted wide receiver that doesn't pan out because he never just took control. And I don't want that to happen, for anybody. I just that can be literally the difference. You have all the talent in the world, but you just don't take advantage of it. So, the pick is the pick, and you're just trying to supplement what you lost, give it a little bit more. They obviously brought in some supporting cast with Woods and others, but we shall see.